Welcome to International Webinar on BT Cotton in India, Myths and Realities, which is an evidence-based evaluation being made by acclaimed scientists. Now I welcome Professor Dr. Hans R. Herren. Professor Dr. Hans R. Herren, founder and president of the BioVision Foundation, is president of the Millennium Institute in the USA. He was the Director General of the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology, Kenya until 2005, and Director Plant Health Division at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, Nigeria, between 1979 to 1994. He has been awarded, among others, the Right Livelihood Award 2013, World Food Prize 1995 and Tyler Prize for Environmental Achievement 2003. He has an AS and the Third World Academy of Sciences membership and is member of IPES Food and the IFOAMOI World Board. He was the co-chair of the UN and World Bank-sponsored International Assessment of Agricultural Knowledge, Science and Technology for Development, IAASTD, 2009.
Thank you. Good evening, good morning, everybody. Many friends are there listening, so I'm very happy to recognize quite a number of people. I'm going to follow, the very good presentation by Peter Kenmore, my good friend, Andy Gutierrez, and Keshav Kanchi. So I have a PowerPoint also, so let's see if I can share my screen. Just have to share screen, share. Okay, so let me get over here. So can you see it? I hope this is okay now. So what I'm going to be talking about is, tackling the cause and not the symptoms. And I think that what we have heard right now from the three presentation is that we have a major issue here of not really listening to science. And from having been, from being a scientist, agronomist, entomologist, biological control specialist, I went further and started to work on looking at policies, because like you and many, I think that we need science to inform policies. And clearly what's happening out there right now in India, but in the rest of the world, is that the politicians, the decision makers are not listening to science, to the facts. And right now, you wonder, from what we have heard, all the evidence we have, with all this data, you wonder, why are we still pushing BT hybrid cotton, for example? Why is this with all this evidence? But I have learned the lessons the hard ways too over my career, is that, the opposition, the people, agribusiness, always think that, our evidence is not good enough, and their evidence for the GMOs, for pesticides, for more fertilizer, is better than ours. And I think that again, looking at those presentations, I'm sure that all you who are participating in this webinar see, that they're convinced that this is good science and it needs to be influencing decision making. I'm going to take this to a little bit
Hans,
different.
can you use the slideshow, please? Can you use the slideshow, please? Yeah, because
it is on. So I'm not sure exactly why.
No, on the left side.
On the left side, on the top, you can see.
Oh, I use slide. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. All right. Then we are. Yeah.
Because it will be looking bigger. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, all right. Good. So, what I want to show you is go on to the bigger picture, because what's happening with cotton and the push now in India for more GMOs and more genetically modified organisms of all sorts, being animals and plants, is being pushed. And so it's a global problem. And what is it? It is that reductionism is uniformity is trumping these days. And why? It's because with this, you can just simplify the system, make more money fast. And just look out there what's happening in Asia with the oil palm plantation. As far as you can see, everything has been destroyed. In Brazil, everything, all our diverse agriculture, which used to be there, the forests have been given way to mega fields to grow soybean and maize. In Europe, in North America and Canada, we have mega fields of rapeseed. I mean, it just goes on. And here, cornfield in America. And you can see, the dark clouds coming. This is not the way we need to do agriculture, and we know it. The resilience of such systems is null, nothing. And if they promote climate change, they promote the weather extreme we can see, either floods or droughts. And so we need to come to our senses and change things. And so with all this, we are actually threatening our own future. As you know, we have a planet we have to live with. That's all there is there. And right now, we are eliminating our very valuable biodiversity. And I think the whole trend with GMOs is just pushing us even further in narrowing down the biodiversity, which is so important to provide resilience, the capacity to have better yields through breeding in the future. Land changes, again, we are way out in the yellow zone here also because we degrade our land. It takes millions of years to build. And the soil, it takes decades to destroy it, as we know. We have problem with fresh water getting polluted by the pesticides, the herbicides, and all the chemicals used to provide and to make chemicals for agriculture. We have a problem with phosphorus and nitrogen even bigger. So all these huge use of fertilizer, and we saw the data in India, are leading to a disaster in terms of climate change, in terms of availability of some of these nutrients in the long term. And so again, we need to be aware that agriculture is responsible for most of it. And you can see these slides, all the black dots there show the impact of agriculture on these planetary boundaries. So clearly, we need to change and find a new way of doing agriculture. And now, so why, as we know that we should change, why is it not happening? And this has been the big question. I am a member of the IPES Food, the International Panel of Experts on Food System, and we actually wrote a paper, a report in 2016, from uniformity to diversity. And we figured out that the problem is with this concentration of power. We have only a few companies left doing fertilizer, pesticides, seeds. And then we have the same situation on the other side, who buys all the products, for example, only a few companies. So this power concentration promotes more export orientation. Every country wants to become a big exporter of food rather than nourish their own people first. America has no need to feed anybody in the world, nor India. I mean, why don't you nourish your own people here in America, in Canada, in my country, Switzerland, and everywhere else? I think it can be done. I'm not saying no exchanges, but I think we have to change this. We have, for example, the measure of success, and Dr. Vandana Shiva, who I think is also listening, has a different measure of success than kilogram per hectare. What about health per hectare? Nutrition per hectare, not calories per hectare. I think this is the thing. Short-term thinking. Everybody wants to think very quickly. Agriculture is a long-term issue. We want to assure food for the long term. Feed the world narrative. I mean, this is the one thing, again, nobody has to feed the world. We need to nourish ourselves well. And I think one big element is this expectation of cheap food. Cheap food is good for politicians to keep the people quiet. It is harmful for the farmers who never can make actually a good living. That's why they actually don't manage their natural resources. They exploit them because they have no other choices. And so again, we need to say that the people in the cities, the people who have money, need to pay a true price for that food. So here we have this issue of concentration of power, which stands in the way. The vested interests of the agribusiness are standing in the way of good science, as we just heard from our three previous speakers, to actually come true and be the law of the land. So how did we create these problems? Or what we did, originally we had ecosystem services, we have pollination, pest control, they're all there. We can deal with it. We have water circulation and nutrient cycling. We had a lot of farmers. So what happened, with this is given by nature. So what happened is that, and with this, we produced a lot of food, had healthy people eating. But then some people figured out, why can't we make money? So if we get rid of those ecosystem services, we can sell more irrigation, we can sell more seeds and GMOs, fertilizers, machinery. And so this is what led basically to the agriculture we have today, this dark black agriculture, which contributes to climate change, contributes to environmental damage, poverty. And so that's why we need to change. And what we're saying is that we need to keep these ecosystem services going. So we had this agriculture here, which is diverse, where people actually can make a living, goes over to an agriculture which is all black. And what's behind it? It is sure those interests, versus interests, but also the way we nourish ourselves. We went from actually having way back a diet which was very green to a diet which was very red, more meat, dairy products, very refined products. And this has then led to this need for more and more cheap food and processed food. So if we want to go back to an agriculture like we have been saying in the International Assessment of Knowledge, of Agricultural Knowledge, Science and Technology, the ISAD report, there were 400 people around the world, many from India, who wrote this report. We say we need to move to agroecology. We can continue the way we're doing things. And that was 10 years ago. That report was boo-booed by FAO, which eventually, you heard it from Dr. Peter Kenmore, adopted agroecology in the last few years. It takes time, but it is moving, it is happening. So we say, also in this report, that subsistence agriculture as well as industrial agriculture need to move to a diversified agroecological farming. This is where we need to go. And the basis for this agriculture is soils. We need to take care of our soils, rebuild and regenerate our soils. Very important. And what is agroecology? So agroecology basically is a set of practices which cover the social, the environmental, and the economic sectors of agriculture, and not only just the economic one. And FAO has since also come out with the 10 elements, so I don't have time to go over the details, but you all have access to this PowerPoint, and to look at, okay, what is in agroecology? It is a holistic way of producing our food, managing the processing, and the consumption. And so the references are there from Dr. Stephen Gleesman and from FAO. You'll find more details on, again, agroecology. And why did we say in this famous report, UN World Bank report 10 years ago, that we need to go agroecology? There are some very good reasons. And not only climate change, but again, it's health. It's a health issue. Why we need to change the health of the environment, the health of the people, the health of the animal, the health of the planet. And we are blessed right now because we have the Sustainable Development Goals. We have an agreed framework, a global framework, where we can actually transform agriculture. And we need to transform agriculture toward agroecology in order to meet these targets. We are 5 years into the process, 10 years left. And if we do not use agroecology, we'll never make it. And we have done in my institutes modeling system models, and we can show that if you introduce agroecology, you progress in all the goals, all the 17 goals. but only if you use agroecological practices. And that means, again, get rid of pesticides in the system, get rid of all the synthetic fertilizer, get rid of all this GMO discussion, because they don't add up anything, as we heard, nothing. Actually, they make it even worse. So I think we have to be clear, the science is there, it needs to be applied right now. And we can look even further. For example, organic cotton has clear environmental and social benefits. This, again, has been proven, shown left and right. So now let's let science, move forward. And here, when you look at all the SDGs, you can see where agroecology would contribute, all of them. And so what has to change? What has to change right now? To conclude, so research and innovation. So we need more transdisciplinary, integrated and agroecological approaches. We need to do the research there. We have the 50 years of research in green evolution. It's still going on. Look at what AGRA, the Gates Foundation, the World Bank, and many others are still funding a green revolution agriculture. It's bankrupt. We need to co-create knowledge with the farmers. Research has to move on and work on farms with the farmers much more than is in the past. And again, we have to invest really in agroecology. So every research station from the CGIAR, international, national, regional, needs to move over to agroecological research. And I had the honor 4.5 years ago to have a discussion with Prime Minister Modi in his office with Professor Fagan. And the idea was actually to see, how could we help with our science, get the policies right in the Indian government. And I will say that one thing which the Prime Minister told us, he said, you don't have to convince me agroecology and organic farming is good. Just tell me how. Now, okay, so we weren't really prepared for this type of answer, but the how exists. And we have actually submitted a paper to the Prime Minister to say, okay, how can this be done? So it can be done. So we need coherent policies. You see, you cannot have policies which give subsidies to pesticides on the one side and try to push organic agriculture. It doesn't make sense, right? It goes against each other. So again, we need to share better policies among all the policymakers with that experience. So that's very important. Coherent policies, not what's happening right now. India, Switzerland, my own country, it doesn't matter where you go, it's the same thing. And the contribution of agroecology to global, regional, national commitments. Again, we need to commit to agroecology, organic agriculture, permaculture, natural agriculture, just name them. We have so many good ways of doing agriculture because they will contribute to meet the SDGs. And last but not least, the whole idea about the climate change. This is going to hit us very, very hard, more than COVID, I can tell you. And agriculture, the way it's done today, contributes to it. We're shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't change. And so I think we have it all nicely packed up. So again, we can change course, but everyone has to do its bit. The governments, the donor agencies, we, the scientists, have to push even harder. And the one key element here is that we need a different kind of thinking. You cannot solve the problem with the same thinking that created it. You cannot. And we, the scientists, have to be the engineers of that change. Gandhi said that too. Be the change you want to see. So here, I think I want to give a bit the bigger picture. And again, I want to repeat, the solution on cotton is right there. It is high density and short season. It's right there. So I don't understand why this is not now policy. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you to my colleagues also for all their presentation before. I wish you well.
Thanks, Dr. Herren. As you rightly said in IASVD report, business as usual is not an option. We need to make a shift, and we need to focus on the real issues that confronting us. And you really pointed out the issues like climate change, nutrition security, farmers' profitability, sustainable use of natural resources, etc. And the fact that agroecology delivers and the experiences are right in front of us. How do we work together to take them forward? And there are a number of examples happening already in India, though not on cotton, but many other crops. Large programs are happening. Many states are making a shift. Andhra Pradesh, in the name of natural farming, Sikkim as organic farming state, have really has set a great examples. Many of them are in the audience now. They're also part of this discussion. Probably we will discuss about them at some other point of time. Thank you very much, Dr. Herren, for bringing a macro picture about the cotton and in general about agriculture.